main, this whiskey one. Shit's hit the fan, we're overrun. Sending boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. Tell every swinging dick bring extra rounds. Hang in now, boys, we're on our way. Don't send them all to heaven before we get a taste. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the doors of room. What you gonna do, my friend, when the devil is at your door? You run and hide, in the end you just got tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. The shadow of death. Whiskey man, it's whiskey one. We're all secured and they're on the run. Tell them boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. The next time I see them, I'll buy the rounds. Tell the devil of Ramadi we gon' call them real soon. Next time they wanna party, bring whiskey too. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the nose of war. What you gonna do, my friend, when the devil is at your door? You run and hide, in the end you just die tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. Shadow of death. Your door. You run and hide, in the end you just die tired. Cause you started a party, we invited guests. Let me introduce you to the shadow of death. Shadow of death. Longest intro known to man. Welcome, ladies and germs, to another episode and the final episode of season 3 of the True Patriot Outfitters podcast. Folks, this has been an amazing season. By far, hands down, the most productive season of the podcast that we've had. Most productive season, obviously, for the nonprofit being our first, if you will. As an official nonprofit, there's just no one thing that we can sit back on and think and lock down as, better than another. It's just been, as I look back over the course of this past year, man, it has just been just such a, I don't know, just it's, I don't want to say humbling, because it's just an amazing journey that we've been on with this. the support from individual people, the support from certain organizations, the brotherhoods, the sisterhoods, the new families, the expansion of the existing families. It's just been amazing, man. And of course, friends. Some of the most amazing friends inside and outside the nonprofit world. The kayak fishing community is unlike anything I've ever encountered out there. I'm absolutely blessed to know the people that I know in the kayak fishing community, um, and to just hang out with them, man. Just to be around folks, man. You always try to be around people that are positive and that are better than you, because then it helps you strive to want to get to that next level, right? Same thing in sports. You don't want to practice against people that are less skilled than you. Iron sharpens iron. The same can be said for when it comes to just good people, man. Hang out with better people than you, or people that are doing things that you envy and that you appreciate, and that's it helps you strive towards that. So we got a lot on the docket here to go over in a short period of time. We're going to try to bring a lot of this stuff uh, to the forefront here for a lot of folks. Um, the first thing I think before we get going here, I've got my man sitting in the green room back here, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and bring him in and let him hang out here in the studio, and I'll get to the cool part that we got some cool news to share here. So let's go ahead and bring in special guest here, my homie, Mr. Jimmy Straws, as Matt Flanagan calls him, James Strawbridge. Just bring him in. What's happening, brother?
What's going on? Thank you for having me.
Oh, are you kidding me? You're doing
Again.
us. You're doing us the favor, man. Yeah, you're like a regular on here. I'm gonna look around here and get your nameplate stuck in here somewhere.
We'll get a cardboard cutout and you can stand it next to you.
Heck yeah!
And you can throw darts at it.
Deny my fish, you son of a.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So yeah, I just figured just have you jump in here so you can. We're going to get to the cool news of what you and I have to share here very shortly. Just wanted to spend real quick here before we get too far into this. I wanted to give a huge shout out Romans Warrior Foundation. Um, None of this is possible without Brian Romans, his beautiful family, Shannon, Mike, his wife, just our entire organization, all of the volunteers that make that thing go around. I was lucky enough to meet them, lucky and smart enough to join them with the Romans Warrior Foundation. And then, of course, here in Colorado and now going abroad, the True Patriot Outfitters, kayak fishing and such, our outdoor excursions in conjunction with the field ops division of Romans. We've kind of grown this thing around, man. And that's one of the topics I wanted to just kind of just go back and recap the last year. We'll do it quickly. And the best way that I know to do this is through picture, man. That's one of the reasons on the social media tip. One of the reasons we stick with social media is to help kind of document the year. It's like a picture library. I'm going to get into this further. I've learned my lesson with social media about what it's good with and what it's not good with when it comes to business. But one thing it is good with is memories and just looking at the different events. So let's go ahead and throw this up here real quick. Let's see how this is going to pan out. Let's go full screen with it. There we go. And then let me take this. Nope, wrong one. Go back there. Go full. There we go. So basically, I'm just looking back. Literally, you can see here. I mean, this is from the year 2023 when we hit it. This was our schedule, man, that we were looking at initially. It was we had loaded up on the schedule here with we had some CKFC, we had CKB in there, we had some Kansas action, we had of course the All American stuff, and obviously our schedule got changed up quite a bit over the time. One of the first events that a lot of these pictures was the International Sportsman's Expo. We were lucky enough, Clay and Sandy Roberts invited us there. We did a small little presentation on search baits, on kind of how we approach search baits. Then we got into some casting competition. A kid actually made finally his dream. He hit the college, collegiate level hockey. He was playing in there. Interviews through the TPO, man. We had some amazing guests showing up on here. Throughout our first rendition of our first kayak trailer here was a twin jet ski. This was the first deal we were trying to work with and see what we could set up with that bad boy. till we realized it was chewing up tires. Oh, I didn't even share this with you yet. So the cast iron, Lodge, those cast iron pots and pans. My wife finally pulled the trigger. We have one just slightly smaller than this one. We have dude, it is phenomenal. Love that cat. Reminds me
Hey,
of
what I see right there is I see an egg and a ham.
there's a lot of ham there, I'll tell you. Dude, Marty Hughes. We had the OG himself, Mr. Marty Hughes, in here. James Leggett was on the show. Oh yeah. So during my 3.5 week stint, one of the deals we did when we were in Alabama, we took a combat veteran and his wife. That's none other than Mr. Brian Romans himself, because this guy spends his whole time helping everyone else. I told him when I got there, no. This time you get to come out with me. We're going. So this was Pickwick. This is a little flooded creek back at Pickwick in the springtime here. But yeah, so homie was 30 minutes into it, 40 minutes into it, his first time. He and his wife, both in the unlimited, just cruising down through Pickwick through the channels, man. He had picked up on that unlimited with that setup there is like just too easy to work with. Oh yeah, we got rained on heavy. So this is me trying to dry out in Texas when I got there. That was quite the event. So a lot of all-American stuff. Oh, we had a safari when I was down in South Carolina. That was Lake Hartwell. Yeah, I got slobbered on at Lake Hartwell. My wife and I did some fishing. Then our first event, we had this Navy vet right here, Mr. Garcia. Hooked him up with a Shields Outfitters pole and rod and a planer box. Got him all set up so he could get hooked like the rest of us. We joined Eagle Claw. That was pretty awesome, dude. Getting on board with them. 11-pounder, baby. Pueblo. Yeah, this was a Pueblo on a jerk bait. Practicing for our event down there. That thing was a monster. You see my tether cord here? It's going to the guys in the walleye boat that took the picture and weighed the fish for me. He's holding my phone.
Nice.
Taking the picture. I didn't have a scale with me, so they were watching me, cheering me on from range. And I was like, hey, you guys got a scale?
Yeah, they were watching you get dragged around by that thing, probably.
Dude, it was a horse. Stop 22 guys we had in here. CK, oh yeah, our little Red Willow, our 2-day back-to-back. We got a little bit of hardware.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Oh, and then Father's Day event. This was a phenomenal event. We had this combat veteran and his wife and his 2 of his 3 kids were able to make it over Father's Day, and we were at Red Willow, right where we had fished like a week or 2 before. I brought them there, and we went out with the entire family that weekend and spent. This was the lineup. Dustin and Jennifer Muse provided these extra bona fides right here so that the kids had enough to go with the unlimiteds that we had out there. What a blast that was. Just an amazing, this kid here was just minutes in and he's already standing up, fishing around. It was, he had no fear, right? He was just out there having a blast. Dad was getting serious with that MPS, that NK180, man. He was taking off and buzz baiting his way right through the weeds everywhere you could find him.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a lot of pictures there. Went through that. Then we had the meet and greet at Stanley Lake. We had this pretty cool setup here. We had a chance. That was a ton of fun. More great guests that jumped on the podcast. This one was cool, man. This is Marion, Illinois, hottest I've ever seen in a temperature anywhere. This was at the Thrill Billies baseball place here. This is the CVMA who helped put this whole thing together. Of course, that's Jonathan Wells there from our Stop 22, Mr. Romans, his wife. This was an amazing event, man. We put the wall up. I don't know, you can't see the wall from that picture, but we had the wall on display there. And we went out to basically work and show our support, my wife and I, when we got there. That is the Romans Warrior Foundation, volunteers and team and family right there, man. Part of them. And it was an amazing event. Like I said, ridiculously humid and hot there. I didn't know Southern Illinois got to that, but oh, here you go. So every one of my pictures, for whatever reason, dude, I dirt face out and I have no idea what the deal is, but I'm sitting here with the goat, right? And I'm just,
Yeah, I heard that guy was pretty good.
yeah, he's been known to catch a fish or two, but here I'm next to him. I got this look on my face like, what the? I don't know what. I am the king of the dirt face. But we unveiled for the first time also not too long after that the Monaco deal, the Doc Talk. That's the new podcast that we'll get into here. This was one of our first trips here with the big trailer. We got that bad boy set up for Nebraska there. Let's see. So we had a couple more All-American deals going off. Big Brutus. Can't beat that.
Yeah, Mindlands.
Dude, that thing was ridiculously huge. My son turned 21, so on the personal side, pretty awesome stuff. Then we were out here. That was our Horsetooth event. That was the painstaking event that we struggled like crazy on. This is in Louisiana, Bussy Break. Yeah, man. So and just running through these. Then of course our Pueblo. This was the one of the last big events of the year was at Pueblo here. Phenomenal time we spent the weekend there. We had several vets, and then the last one was Horsetooth. Man, this guy right here is the guy that put this all together. This is actually my nephew, Taylor, and he had talked to me about this. Well, then his very good friend Jim is an Army vet. So when I found that out, I'm like, bro, we are going fishing when you guys get here. We'll figure this out. And that's when I connected with you, James, on this. And these two guys. Right? Yeah, these two guys, I'm telling you, it was unlike anything that I had ever seen from Horsetooth. These fish, that was my 20 and a quarter. Not long thereafter, my nephew smashed a 20 and a half. That was the big for the day. And I bet you we caught 10 of them over 19 inches. It was back in that marina, but man, you couldn't just sit still and get them. You had to follow and chase and predict and get in front of the wolf pack that was floating around out there.
Yeah, you can chase the bubbles sometimes. Sometimes you'll see bubbles where those fish are going. They're so active swimming through those pods of bait fish that they'll create bubbles, with their bladders going up and down in elevation change so fast. They'll just let bubbles out. So you can almost follow the bubbles sometimes, and that's all the trout down there.
Taylor found himself back in one of those slips, and he hit right underneath. So it literally pulled him in underneath that slip there. And so he just let himself drift in. But yeah, they were beautiful rainbow. And you know me with trout, I normally don't target those things, but dude, when they're that quality, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Start going after them. But it's been just an incredible year, man. We've had a lot of, awesome events. Oh, we did have an extra one in here that I didn't hear. It was Mr. Jonathan Wells. I got a chance to take him up there to Windsor and get him on his first kayak fish that he had ever caught and his first bass. Got several decent ones in there in that little pond.
Nice. Is that Water Valley?
Yeah.
Nice. There. Was that the private one, Rain Dance?
It was. Yes, sir.
Very nice. Very nice.
We put him on. He got on several fish there, and it feels good when you can kind of call your shot. When you're like, here, take this jig and throw it right in here. And, you should, and all of a sudden, whack, he gets smoked by something. It's like, yeah, there we go. But yeah, he had a blast. This guy, dude, when he sings, it will absolutely just like it pierces your soul. He has such an amazing voice. He's one of our one of the anchor members of the Stop 22 tour. He's an Army combat vet. So this was it was an awesome treat to get him out and take him out with this. But yeah, there were a few fish there that day. Faux show. But yeah, man, we had quite the blast running around with this. Oh yeah. And the bass buggy had to get some new brakes and rotors. So I was ripping through that stuff. Never ending. Just had to do the battery too. The battery just finally croaked on it. But
wow.
Our trailer, we built, this is my bunk. Right side, I got some PVC on the right side now. That's where another kayak goes, and that's what I sleep on. My air mattress goes up on that bad boy. I cut it down so that it's actually more to size now. But yeah, that's our bunk.
I hope you sanded it well, because the last thing you need is a sliver on that thing with an air mattress on it.
Right? It was actually already finished. I spare no expense. This was another. Oh, this was about. I think this was in August. Yeah, I forgot about this trip. We had another one where we took this Army combat vet and his brother-in-law, who's a former first responder. We took those guys out, and none other than Mr. Jeremy Pierce joined us, who's active Air Force. So we had a blast, the four of us over there at Red Willow as well. It was it was some tough fishing. CKFC went there the following weekend, and the fishing remained tough.
Yeah.
But good times were had for sure. But so, nevertheless, we'll pull that other. That's basically been a year in review. And with that being said, it's always been our hope at the TPO to blend the worlds of kayak fishing and the nonprofit work and the benefits that getting outdoors has for our nation's war fighters. That will continue to be our mission no matter what. And one of the things to help the podcast get up there, we knew was that, picking up some high profile guests to come on. I mean, we've had, like I said, like some of the original OGs, of Marty Hughes, James Leggett, yourself, Jim, guys that have, helped shape this sport through and through to current day, hooks that are out there, both on Bassmaster and Hobie, and with, of course, the All-American. I've even had a couple professionals from the bass boat world come in. Mike McClelland, who I call, he and his wife, we call a friend. He's graced us on the show a couple times. Matt Steffen was on the show with us. Josh Deal has been on here. I mean, we've had some solid names that have really helped us along this mission. Going forward, we are going to double down on our efforts in the areas of showing the impact with our nation's warfighters with this. So, from this point forward, our guests are going to be active military, veterans, first responders, former first responders, or their families that are involved in kayak fishing in some area and that have firsthand account on this. We're also, with our format, we're going to put some focus and some time towards the mental health side of things. We're going to try to bring in some experts there. And I'm going to do everything I can to make this stuff applicable to every day so that it's not boring. It's not, mind numbing whatsoever. But the point of this is why we do this is not, I don't like using the word alternative, but it kind of is an alternative to the garbage that gets thrown at these people when it comes to dealing with, some instances that have taken place in their life. The first and foremost, and I support this wholeheartedly, there's a massive push to stop calling this a disorder. PTS is PTS, and that's that. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't undo what you've done. You can't unhear what you've heard. So how is it a disorder at that point? And that's where many of these people that I admire and love dearly are at with this. It's not a disorder, it's just a situation. So it's a matter of how do we you can't get rid of it. So how do we learn how to be productive and functional and positive, throughout the rest of it. Dude, I'll tell you right now, getting outdoors, kayak fishing, hell of a great way to start. It's documented. It is known scientifically, medically, physically, mentally, people firsthand account. It provides benefit, man. Just getting out tootling around in a kayak out on the water, let alone getting out there and getting the bug of going fishing to boot. And that's what we're going to really focus on, man. It in turn also, we are 30 minutes prior to, which is about 10 minutes from now, there is probably the most prominent kayak fishing podcast that we have out there they go live every Monday as well. And Jeff Malott and I were actually just talking today about this, and a few other people and I were talking, and we were trying to put numbers together. Like, what podcast is kayak fishing, on? What kind of numbers, subscribers do they look at? So we were looking, trying to get a basis. It's pretty much the KBN, probably the KBN again, and then our tiny little show out there. There's not many out there, right? So the last thing I want to do is create issue for our listeners as far as splitting their time on kind of stuff. So one of the cool things is that by us, we're going to continue to remain at 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central. But like I said, we're going to really focus in on the nonprofit work. We're going to focus hot and heavy with anglers that have firsthand account of this. We want to become more of a resource for sure. If people can come back and watch the show recorded, later, perfect. A lot of our shows are going to be recorded, through this. And that way we can do our best, because we do, we appreciate as an angler ourselves, appreciate the fact that a lot of people want to tune into the KBN, man. And they should, because these guys are doing something that our sport needs. We need to talk about the sport. We need to keep it going, and they're doing a hell of a job over there. So that's for sure. Now, having said that, the cool thing is the other anglers that are not of that realm, we've got the All American Kayak Series, its podcast, the one we've been kind of, testing the waters with, is going to spin off, and it's going to have its own channel now. Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, Tuesday nights, the All American Kayak Series, twice a month. It'll be bi-weekly. Maybe in the off season, if the library fills up like it is appearing to, we might run it a little bit more often. But once tournament season gets here, it'll definitely only be twice a month. We're going to have that little podcast running on Tuesday nights so that it doesn't conflict with anything else. So that's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
More podcasts. It's a little bit more work for us. I told Josh Booth, I'll give you, I can agree to, and I will volunteer for 1 year of this. Let's see how we can do with this,
Right.
running a pair of them. But I'm hoping to find co-host over there with the All American Kayak Series, and eventually maybe somebody that would, work into taking the reins over completely from hosting that one. But we'll see how all that pans out, and we'll see if it's worthwhile. We just want to give anglers more avenues over there with the All American. We want to give them a spotlight there, give their sponsors a chance to be recognized, and of course our events, the supporters of our events, our sponsors, hosts, things of that. We want to really highlight them throughout that and get a chance to introduce them to all the anglers that are out there. So that'll be a cool way to do that. So everything's going to be kind of falling right in line here with what we want to see and how this whole thing is going to.
And when's the All American podcast going to start? Is that going to start 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the season to kind of get a couple of shows going, or are you just going to jump right into it during the season starts?
December here, man. My hope, I was really hoping to have something ready by this Tuesday to start. That way we could get a couple episodes in from December here, but we'll have to see. I've got the next 7 days straight. We have interviews set up. They are either for the All American for Doc Talk or for the TPO. So it'll be occasionally. We'll probably poach each other's interviews as I'm doing these. There might be one or two that is a good crossover for them, but for the most part, these are going to be just completely separate. Like I said, we're going to stay in our lane with the TPO and let fishing kind of take its own lane over there with that little deal. So I'm hoping that within the next week, no more than 2 weeks, we'll have the first Doc Talk up and running. And our first, I just got to get his schedule figured out. We got a really cool first guest, none other than Mr. Turney X himself. We're trying to put that together as our first guest for our first episode. That should be a lot of fun having Dwayne on there. So
yeah. Dwayne's a good guy, man. He's a really good guy.
And they've got, he's on KBN tonight, by the way, here in about 5 minutes. Dwayne's
I didn't know that.
Tonight.
Nice.
Yep. He'll be on tonight. And some cool stuff coming down the pipe with Turney X. And All American has been, from the beginning, we've had Turney X as our, we're actually a partner listed on their site, their main site there. And so we love what Dwayne has done. And now he's always trying to evolve things and just help the sport. So
yeah, that's for sure. Every time we talk on the phone, whether it has something to do with director stuff for Turney X in my position with the CKB, at the end of the conversation, it's always, we talk about work and business and marketing strategy on how he's got such a great thing going with Turney X over there. And I know he's been with the same company for a long time and he really wants to jump forward with Turney X. I keep, edging him. I'm like, do it. You've built a great thing. The only thing we need to do now is help him get onto the bass boat side. So these bass boat guys are doing more of a CPR rather than dragging fish around in the middle of summer, and then get the bass boat guys on Turney X, and we could help grow him even further. So
I've got a series of questions I was going to ask him offline about a very topic that, quite frankly, could really help that movement. And it has everything to do with, I'll say it here. I don't really care. It's not looking for credit to this. And I'm sure he's probably already had this request put in and they'll be looking at it, but it's in regards to the areas of how to export data for the DNR. That could be huge, in my personal opinion, if there were a way to do these things, because what a lot of people don't realize is that from a national standpoint, when we come in a national series and we come into an out of state and we apply for permits, they provide us with a form that they require us in some states to fill these forms out 100% completely and turn them in within 30 days of this event. And what that form has is every last single fish that was caught. They want data on it. And they expect us to provide this. And so I look at that and go, hold on. How the hell are they getting that from weigh-ins? It's like, have you been to a weigh-in? I've done a lot where I've carried my bag of fish up there and I watch them. And dude, it's almost like a fish market, the way they're slapping them around and throwing them in the bin, and then they dry heave them back in the bag and we go up to get them weighed, and then they're back in the water after that. But it's like, there's no way what each one of those fish weigh, and you're not collecting that data from them.
No, that's not their format. They just bring in their best 5. Some guys bring in 3, some bring in 1, bring in 2, and you get a total of weight out of those fish. It's just there's no science to it. And Nebraska does that for me. They require me to do that as a tournament director with the CKB at the end of the year, I got to go back to Tourney X. And that's a great resource to have that I can go back and say, hey, we caught 11 19s, 4 20s, and a bunch of, it's right there for me. And I can check that box off. And we need to get more of the parks and wildlife in the different states to recognize Tourney X. Then they can do their own homework.
Dude, that's my saying. If imagine if Dwayne could give them their own login, it's like, here you go, just log right in here, pull the data from each one of these. We know how hard it is for biologists to actually gather data because no one wants to fund those projects, in the state. So, man, this to me, I just think that could be a huge area. And then, like I said, I am sure that's not the first to consider that whatsoever. But I was going to talk with him about some of that when we get a chance to work with him on there. But
so let me just say something real quick. Your mic seems to be needs to be closer. Maybe you're kind of fading out as you.
How's that?
Further. There you go. That's better. Yep. You were just fading out. I don't know if you were in front of it or behind it.
It's a unidirectional mic. It sounds really, really good when I'm right on it.
Yeah.
I had it pointed down a little bit there.
Okay.
So
there you go.
That was the problem.
Perfect.
But I actually, this Yeti I can control. I can do multi-directional. I can do unidirectional. I do the unidirectional just because I think it comes out cleaner.
Yeah. So to the guys at KBN, they were all upset that you had a better mic than they did.
Dude, and like I said, I bet you their mics cost 3 times as much as mine. This is a $99 Amazon deal, baby. But it's known. It's the blue line from Yeti, it's the Yeti line from Blue. And yeah, they're solid little mics. They get the job done. But yeah, $100, man. It was I broke their rules right out the gates. But,
that's all right.
So
they deserve it.
So having said that, we got the new format laid out, what we're going to be doing. One of the other cool things, we also talked about the All-American Kayak Series channel, Doc Talk, Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Central. That's coming up soon. It'll be twice a month. That's going to be in there. But this is the reason our special guest, Jim, has stopped by here. We're going to do a little project that we're going to be testing out. And what this project is named is Unpinned. Now, you can take that in several meanings. In the fishing world, if a fish comes unpinned, that stings. That hurts. And it probably means you're not using trocar hooks. But
hey, plug.
Booyah.
Paying the bills.
That's right. But nevertheless, it can also mean, if in the essence of should you be carrying yourself a hand pineapple, and she is unpinned, you can launch that thing and cause all kinds of mass destruction with it. The Unpinned series is going to be a small, probably 6-episode series that I want to preface before we get going, because we're going to give you a sample of it here this evening. But what's important to know is, if you'll notice on all of the episodes and things that we do in the TPO, we avoid certain topics. We don't tap dance into them. When I interview people, I don't get into certain topics out there. I don't have much time for social media because, quite frankly, it's nothing more than a necessary evil for me personally, and with the business also, probably more so than that. But I've learned and changed a lot. We stay, and I avoid a ton of opinion-based stuff, just because my opinions really don't matter on these topics. We're here to interview other people. However, on the Unpinned area, I've been coerced, if you will, by a couple entities that are close to me that it would be entertaining to watch my opinion fire off. And I was sitting here going, hang on, but my opinion is only my opinion. There's another guy who I respect massively when it comes to looking at situations from all angles, and that's you, Jim. When we talk on topics, you have many times opened my head to an angle of a topic like, son of a bitch, I didn't think of it from that side. And so that's why I wanted you in here, because you and I have spoken about this at great length. You're somebody that not just an angler, not just a tournament director, but you're somebody I consider a friend of mine. We can have a disagreement on stuff, and I'm still going to love you just the same. It's never going to change that. Um, and so that's why I'm going to fire off with certain things on some of these topics here. And I know you're not going to always agree with, and I want to hear basically the other side of this, because when you talk, I pay attention to it really close. And if anybody has a chance of changing my opinion on this shit, it'll be you. I'm sure of that. But it'll be on certain topics that are kind of buzzworthy, if you will. That's what we're going to get into with this. And we're going to pick the topics, some of them a little bit older, some of them kind of fresh. Before we get into this section, like I said, we're going to do about 10 minutes worth of this to kind of give you an idea. We've got the topic lined up here. I want to preface that whole piece with the fact that my opinions have zero to do with the True Patriot Outfitters. They have zero to do with any sponsors whatsoever. They don't support any of this. They have no idea that I'm doing this. So that piece of this is just coming from me, Gene, 100%, because I feel like I'll probably ruffle a few feathers, but I hope anybody watching knows me well enough to know I mean no malice whatsoever from it. I just disagree, if you will, in certain areas there. And so that's that being said, tonight's topic, as we take a quick break, pause, and we're back. Tonight's topic for Unpinned is going to be the fishing industry lied to us. If you've been around social media, if you've been watching YouTube, Milliken, of course, did his deal there. I don't know that dude. All I can do is speak from what I see on YouTube, and he is like king of the clickbait. I made it 5 minutes into his video, and I still didn't hear a single piece of information that was coming through yet. So I literally lost interest and got away. I was like, nah, sorry, dude, you lost me. I know there's an entertainment value that some people love with him, and kudos to him on all the other things he does. But for me personally, I just like, you're just, it's just mess, dude. You're white noise right now to me. And so I just can't deal with that shit. All right. That's the other piece that I wanted to make sure of, is that for the next 10 minutes here, if you have kids or small ones around, put a headset on, because the language is being unfiltered as well. And I wanted you to know that.
You don't have a bleep button?
I don't. I probably could come back later and do it, but I'm not gonna. So, but at any rate, so yes, it's the fishing industry lied, or what the pros aren't telling you. That topic. What was the name? I don't even care about the name, because that's not the point. But there was an angler who came out. He got himself in some hot water because he exposed the truth about pro fishing, of how expensive it is. Hold on a second. If you didn't know how expensive it was, here's where the beat needs to be. What the fuck are you doing being a professional angler? Okay. I'm sorry, but this is where I lose my marbles on this. Listen, this is the same thing to me as it was back in the financial crisis, when people were squawking and blaming banks for them signing bad loans. All of a sudden, it was Lehman Brothers that was the predatory bank. Did they have a gun? Did they hold it to your head? And did they tell you to take that mortgage? No, they didn't. You did. And you were desperate. You were this, you were that. I'm not judging. But God damn it, take responsibility. And that's what I feel is the major piece with this whole thing. Dude, guys like you and I, Jim, we sit around talking about, you won't even go fish stuff if it doesn't make financial sense to you. And you're not even talking pro level. You're talking just anything, because you're a businessman. You look at the cost of this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about the money for me, but it kind of is. I mean, the money it helps recuperate the funds if you win or you do well. But, I think a lot of these guys, and me, even back when I was fishing the Bassmaster Central Opens, I had this notion that if I qualified through the Centrals or whatever division it was at the time, they had the Southerns, the Eastern, the Western, and then they had the Centrals, that if I made that all of a sudden sponsorship was going to be there for me as an elite guy. And I don't know how much of that is true, but I would also think, this is just my opinion, it would behoove Bass to kind of have sponsors ready for these young and upcoming anglers as they come into their industry to kind of help absorb some of that cost. Now, sure, you do have to prove yourself, but you also proved yourself as a young angler by reaching the elites, by qualifying by some of the best hammers in the Central, Southerns, or the Opens. I mean, some of the best still fish that. So when you get to the elites, should at least one major sponsor be there to help you absorb some of that? I don't know. Not looking for a handout either, right?
You gotta earn it. But where what we've come to, and I noticed this many years ago when I was trying to run a model to figure out a way to make this work. When I had my boat and I was going to try to, go out and take a run at this and just see what we could do through the whole thing. Every business model I ran down was like, nope, that's a loss. Nope, that's a loss. Nope, that's a loss. No.
Right.
This sport got too big, too fast. There's only so many sponsors running around out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had to kind of know that coming into it. The term was they lied to us. No, they didn't. Under no circumstance anywhere ever did anybody say you get to the elites and you made it, son. No, they said you come to the elites and you're going to pay over $5,000 an event. That's what they told you. And you still said, yep. Now, go even worse than that. And mind you, I love the MLF, the idea of what it was. What it's become now, I can't stand it. Because now they have the freaking invitationals, which are $5,000 to get in or whatever, damn close to it. And it's not even a professional deal. It's a AAA.
Wow.
And how do you look at that and make a decision that, yeah, that's something I want to do? The pros didn't tell me this, or the pros don't want to tell you this. Well, of course the pros it's not their job to expose their personal finances, nor is it their job to worry about yours. That's my response to these guys that are squawking and whining. And I don't know, maybe they're using it for the purpose of social media. Maybe that's the case. But dude, a simple calculator could have told you this shit. You didn't have to go there and spend all the money. And I know it probably kills you inside. I mean, that's the thing, is like, this was a dream that I had. Well, yeah, dude, I wanted to fly airplanes too. I was going to be a fighter jet individual, but guess what? I didn't have the grades to get in the academy. I had to learn that like 10th, 11th grade. I was like, shit, right. Guess I need to come up. I better fly a lawnmower. I had to come up with a new dream, dog. You know what I mean? It's like, and maybe that's a Gen X thing. I don't know, but
no. You can start it as drone. Start small, Gene. You got to build your way up in the world.
Dude, I was sure that the video games were going to pay off, and look now. Right? I was about 30 years too late. But look now.
13 different buttons, and you're 7 years old. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, but also too is when you go to that elites, it's a 2-year deal when you qualify. So to add on to what you're saying, which I agree with you, at what, 45, 50? What is it? $5,000 times nine events, $50,000-$60,000 in entry fees. And then you got to have a truck. Are you getting that truck handed to you? Do you have payments? Even though you get through Toyota, are you sponsored instantly when you come to BASS? Not everybody drives a Toyota. Is something there to help you with that? Then you got to gas that thing. You got to insure it. Then where are you sleeping? And costs and hotel and food. All of that adds up. And like you had said, I do that at the kayak level. And I can tell you right now, when I go to a national, if I do the All-American, it's going to be minimal $2,000 every trip for me. That's just what it is, with entry fees, food, lodging, miscellaneous, fishing license, gas,
to get there.
everything, lodging. And I'm not sleeping in the woods or in the back of my truck at this point, but I'm not staying at $200 a night hotels. Between living with cockroaches and staying at some giant hotel where you get, maid service all the time, right? So
Right.
I'm somewhere's in that middle, but yeah, $2,000 a pop. I do 3 events. That's $6,000. I could stay home and fish for 5 years on $6,000.
Right.
Local events, local clubs, but is it paying off? There's that return. There's that business, or what are you doing as an individual too? What are you trying to prove to yourself? What are your goals as either a kayaker or a boater? Are you really trying to make it to the elites from a boater standpoint? Because if you are, you're going to spend $100,000 or $200,000 before you even possibly get the chance, because you're going to get your teeth kicked in when you get to that level.
Yeah.
You better be good. You better be good.
In the old days, and I'm talking, you're going to have to go back 25, 30 years. You used to be able to be a good angler and you could go make a living. Now, would you be known like the Iconellis and the Van Dams and the Swindells and all these guys? Probably not, but you could go make a living at least. There was enough to go around in there being a good angler. And then you needed to have a side hustle, right? Tackle store, really good sponsorship deals where you're doing a lot of PR work for them, some R&D stuff, or had your own business on the side. A lot of guys doing your line of work as general contractors, that they had to really keep that going so that it helped feed, their career that they wanted to push forward, hoping that one day they could break that upper, that glass ceiling that was up there and crack into it. But I'll tell you, as recent as 10, 15 years ago, that changed. And as I was just doing pure numbers, not even looking to get to the pro level yet, I was looking at just how to get your pathway through the BFLs to the Toyotas. And then it was the big dance, right after that, the tackle warehouse. That's the way it used to be. Because to be quite honest with you, bass was the worst pathway. That paid the least possibility of exposure until you got to the opens. And even then, back in those days, it wasn't great exposure. But the opens were extremely expensive to try to, manage that. But at least there was, once you got there, you could, at least see a pathway. But the path to get there, good night. It was horrible. So the FLW had that pathway that you could follow through. And if you followed their suggestion, that was the fastest way to spend the absolute most amount of money with the FLW that you could. And I realized, like I said, 10, 15 years ago, you start looking at this and it's like, whoa, hold on. That's the worst pathway to go with this. Now I need to have a primary income and my fishing career becomes my side hustle. Right. Because that's the only way that I can see these numbers. And then I'm going to be working to keep gas in the boat, man. Good night. Right. It became this horrible change up there. And like I said, nowadays, Bassmaster doing what they did, in my personal opinion, dude, it's pretty cut and dry. The opens, which was the way people were getting to the elites, had waiting lists for years. I talked to a guy, professional angler on the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, who was a lifetime bass member. He tried to jump in, waiting list. He couldn't even get into an open, and he was a pro on the Tackle Warehouse, and he still couldn't get into an open. So wow. Why not do what Bass did? Shit, if we got that many people that want to come in here and they're taking money out of that and feeding it up, to their elites, why not make it? Now you got to go 9. So now your 3 event minimum now is 9. So we just tripled your cost commitment for a shot to try to make it to the elites. And I'm just like, who is surprised by that? That's the part that just blows me away when I see this stuff. You keep supporting it. You keep getting involved in it. How can you whine about it, man? Dude, at the end of the day, there's one way to fix this entire industry. Stop playing games with them. That's the only way. The MLF showed you, because if you go back to like 2002, 2003, Mike Iaconelli was one of the biggest voices against bass back then. He was talking about the inequality of monies and so forth. You can Google it and find the articles that are still available out there.
Yeah.
Anglers were talking about the FLW and bass not paying the anglers properly enough and that there was a problem literally 20 years ago. And so people then, well, they just had no loyalty. That's why they left. You dope. What do you mean loyalty? What was Bass doing for them except taking their money every freaking year?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's like, no, I'm sorry. These guys had their own cash involved in this. So yeah, they finally fed up and they moved. And guess what? Bass changed a shitload of their landscape at the elite level now. They changed so much stuff when that changeover, and it grew opportunities for more anglers. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it certainly did. I mean, because there's a lot of names I'll tell you right now in the elite field that you would not have heard if those 80 guys would have stayed there. You'd have never heard from them. You're not
and
going
it opened up a lot of them. The Patrick Walters of the world, the Drew Cooks, and the list goes on. And all the younger guys that you don't never even heard of are making names, and they're not taking away nothing from them, saying that they shouldn't be there. But you know what? It exposed that just because you make it through an open and you qualify and you're the top 5 in that division and you get to, it still doesn't mean you're the best. And and I think that's what Bass is trying to do. Because there definitely was a couple years there where when they had the 3 divisions, the Centrals, the Southerns, and the Easterns or the Northerns or whatever it was, they were taking the top 5 or top 3 or something like that from that, AOY points and sending them to the elites. But the problem was if you qualified from the Eastern Division and then they stuck you out by the West Coast or they stuck you down south, you couldn't produce because it's different fishing. It really is. So anybody who has never fished outside of their own state, it's different. The attitude of the fish is different. How they set up, everything is just different. So if you don't have that exposure of fishing all over the country, they went into the bass in the elites and then they just faded away because they couldn't do anything. So I get what Bass is trying to do by doing the 9 thing, making you fish all 9, because now you're jumping north, south, east. You're filling a full schedule. So when you come to the elites, you've got that practice for what you need to be to fish that circuit. So I get it. And I wonder how much of that was put down because of they were struggling trying to get people because everybody left to go to MLF. Well, now everybody's leaving MLF and they're coming back to Bass.
Yeah,
right?
It's because of that whole AAA invitational bullshit. And then now the Bass Pro Tour is getting its roster cut down even further. Everything that's being done is to help the organizations, not the anglers out there. That's the thing. And there's just no way you can not see that unless you are just that blind in your dreams and aspirations. And if you are, I'm sorry, man.
And here's another thing that I think
you get what you get.
No, I agree. Being in the spotlight as an angler or as anybody, whether you're a comedian or an actor, having a personality and always being, I hate to say the word, but obnoxious sells. I mean, look at the guys who are some of the top. I mean, Kevin Van Dam is not obnoxious. He got there because he was one of the greats. Rick Clunn didn't get there because he's obnoxious. But I sure can name an awful lot of guys who've made a name off of being obnoxious. I mean, Gerald Swindle, pretty loud. His jokes, he thinks he's funny, and he is. But he just, that's him. Mike Iaconelli, that screaming shit he was doing. He ticks off a lot of people. But guess what? Bad press is good press.
Sure.
Look at Matt Robertson, a new guy that just came on with his long hair and smashing beer cans and ripping the sleeves off of his jersey, right? What a character to be a character. And then you got someone like Jordan Lee. Jordan Lee's a great angler, but he's got the personality kind of a rock. Right? I mean, when he won his first Bassmasters, he was like, "Whoa, yeah." He won his second when he was pumped because he was leaving to go to MLF. So I don't know. I think to make it more lucrative, you need to have a personality. You need to have an angle. You need to be almost
got to be able to sell.
loved.
Yeah, you got to be. Look at Randy Blockett.
God, what a dick. I don't like that guy.
I'm telling you, no, it's the truth. The guy has the most absurd, ridiculous ass opinions, but there is a side of me inside my head thinks it's totally on purpose. Because the guy is actually a very smart person when I've seen in the past, but I think he knows exactly what he's doing. And I think he does this to sell, and his channel has exploded.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, though, is that people, the trolls out there, people sit there and complain about something, but yet they're the ones tuning in to do it. Dude got out there in his video and complained about how expensive it was. And he said these things. The statement he said, and I knew this was going to bite him right in the ass when he said, listen, I appreciate the product that I get from some of my sponsors, but that don't pay the bills. And I was like, you ungrateful hunk of shit. This company's going to drop you. And then he comes back out and tries to put ARC on blast and the boat dealer on blast, which was Pro Choice Marine. He tried to put these companies for, hey, I got nothing but great things to say about them, but I just wish they'd have had balls enough to tell me other than in text. And I'm like, you didn't have the balls to go to them initially. You went out to your YouTube channel, dude. I'm sorry. People I know want to get around this guy and feel, comfort him and coddle him. I don't know who he is. So I'm not saying anything either on his personality, but he deserved to lose those freaking sponsorships, dude. That just end of discussion. In my opinion, ARC, yeah, totally understood why they were like, hey, guess what? Yeah, you're not paying our bills either. So I'll see you later, dude.
And on the flip side, once again, I'll play devil's advocate.
Sure.
He turned in it's Jacob Fouts, right? It's not a secret. He started this whole thing, right? And he really isn't super well known. He's a great angler. He deserves to be there. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
But until you start winning and putting your name out there, you're not gonna. What he did is he took and blew up his social media. So if those sponsors would have stayed with him and not dropped and just said, hey, you know what? You said something a little stupid, but we're going to stick behind you now. Now, by losing those sponsors and doubling and tripling his followers, bad press is good press. So did those sponsors screw up by not going with him? Did he put a bad taste in his mouth through the industry? Did he not follow BASS procedure? Because don't forget, whenever we sign a waiver, even our waivers at this level, we sign a waiver saying that we will represent that shield right there, BASS, with honor, integrity. We'll not put slander to the name. We will not put anybody down. Yep. And putting sponsors down that are affiliated with that brand is going to get you in trouble. So you're getting drilled by tournament directors to, hey, welcome to the elites, but let me put you in your place. This is how you do yourself. This is how you act.
You know this, Jim. This is a small industry, man. And regardless of how big you think it is, it's still on handshakes and looking at somebody across the table, giving them your word that you're going to be professional and take care of them, and they're going to do the same thing you do. And the moment, if somebody feels like that's been infringed upon or cut down, man, I can, I totally see it. It's like, you find yourself in that position.
But how many bridges did Iaconelli burn when he won his classic in 2002? He was in a Ranger boat, and I think he freaked out before that classic or after the classic, and he busted a bunch of shit on the boat, and he's like, this boat's a piece of shit, and he was kicking stuff, and it's like, hey, the next day, Ranger's like, see you later, Mike.
Yep.
And he was one of the best at the time. So it doesn't mean just because you've got the followers and you've got the name that you're not beyond being booted from a sponsor as well. But you have to act at a certain level. Even us, like you now, you're part of the All-American. You, no matter what you want to say as Gene Campbell and you want to reply to something on social media as Gene Campbell, you're still known as Gene Campbell, but you're Gene Campbell with the All-American. So 100%. You still cannot say things that make you or anybody you represent look bad. And I have the same thing on social media that we have an image. I have one locally, not as nationally as you have, but for what I do around here and the people that I know, I can't be spewing off a bunch of stuff and telling somebody certain things that I'd like to tell them. Because I'm pretty straightforward. What you see is what you get. I have a very big personality. I say what I think, and a lot of people that rubs the wrong way. But at my heart, I'm a good dude, and I respect everybody. I'll never put anybody down. But I'll say some things that whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell you the way it is. Sorry.
I don't know how many times I don't know if you do the same thing, but dude, I'll come across a post there and I'll start to type a response like, "Are you three-toed, mouth-breathing imbecile? What the heck?" And I'm like, "No, backspace. Yep. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I do the same thing. I think it just makes us feel good that we said it. And we saw it. And then we back and we delete it. And we go.
My wife, her home office is downstairs. So I'm in the loft up here. That's my home office. Her home office is downstairs in the main office. So yeah, dude, I go down there. I go down to the first floor where all the execs are at. And you're not going to believe what this moron said today online. She hears it all and it's kind of like, she lets me vent and then I can move on from there.
Well,
yeah.
You know, what they didn't tell us is what Jacob Fouts and everybody's telling us right now. And like you said, if you are moving to that level, even if you're a beginner and you're like, wow, I love bass fishing, I'm going to take this to the next level, whether you're at a kayak or you're in a flat bottom John boat and you're looking to buy a bass boat and fish and move up, at some point, if you have any business sense and you're spending money, you've got to put this together and go, wow, when I travel, I'm going to have this expense. I'm going to have that. You've got to put numbers to each tournament and you've got to collect the tournaments. And that's how much money you're going to spend. And if you're not making a decent living and have money saved and you're not willing, like, I'll be honest with you, I put $5,000 to $10,000 a year away in a fishing account. If I spend it on fishing, great. If I don't, then I put it back in my account. I can put it towards my house, my retirement, whatever. But I have a big budget, but that's just me. That's who I am. Could I take my 10 grand and go spend it on 3 qualifications to try to get to the elites or at the invitationals or whatever? Sure. But I'd only fish 3 tournaments a year.
Right. And it's like, what's the game after that? When you get into this sport now, you need to approach this like if you were trying to set yourself up, like, say, a Subway franchise.
Yep.
You better have a shitload of money liquid before you ever try. If you're trying to do this on, paying it out of pocket or paying it with a little, 401k loan or something, you're setting yourself up for a lot of problems. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of our sport. You could do the Brian Latimer way, though. He said it the best way. Let each level pay for the next. So work your ass off until you can afford to make the winnings to pay for everything at the next level. When your winnings are doing that, well, then that's no money out of your pocket. But that's like less than 1% of how many. Who in the hell's going to get there?
Right. And don't hold me to this. Kevin Van Dam is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to play the game, right? Yep. If you were to look, if he had a batting average in fishing, his batting average would be like 95.
Dude, his career wins.
And he's the greatest?
At the major level, his career wins are under 30. He fished since like 1992, 93 was when he got as a pro. He just retired this year. Do the math. Under 30. I want to say it's like 27, 28 major wins is what he has. That's it. I mean, right. That's like a soccer player retiring with 6 goals in their career.
And being labeled the greatest.
Right.
Like that. If he was a baseball player, his ass would have been fired the first year. Done. Gone. He wouldn't even have had himself to get the name GOAT. He would have been float. On out of here, sucker, whatever. He would have came up with something, right?
No, it's the truth, man. This sport is brutal and people don't realize. Did you win? No, the stars did not align. The perfect storm did not happen, but I fished well. Or no, I sucked. I went out there and stunk it up. That's right. People that are not close to the sport, they don't realize that piece.
And now how many sponsors are out there nowadays, especially with social media? How many sponsors are out there looking for a guy who does nothing but win because he's great, whether it's the local level or intermediate or the national or the pro level, or how many companies are out there looking at, hey, you might not have ever won a tournament. You don't really finish well, but you know what? You've got a lot of social media. You do a lot of this, you do a lot of that. You're marketing for them. You're putting it out there and putting a brand. So like you said, 15 years ago, you had to be good to get the sponsor. Now you've got to be a businessman. You've got to market this. You've got to create followers and you've got to stir the pot. Whether it's good or bad, hopefully you treat it like a good businessman and you're not putting bad press out there for you or your sponsors, but you're always pushing that envelope.
And I hope more and more watched the Eagle Claw Edition podcast that I did, because I believe that they are ahead of the curve. Some people would say, being a legacy company, that they're just old school with how Eric runs their marketing side. But I'll tell you what, in my opinion, he is more progressive and more got his finger on the pulse of what's going on out there. They don't care when they bring you onto their team. They're not bringing you onto the team because you have a massive following. Look, they got Mark Zona. They got, major names. They got that shit covered.
Right. If
they bring you on, what they would drop Zona in a heartbeat, though, if he was a piece of shit. Okay. I
Right.
believe that wholeheartedly. But the fact that Zona's a good dude, he's a good human doing good things, and he's a legend of our sport for sure, living legend, that's out there.
Yeah.
Eagle Claw is ahead of the curve, in my opinion, when it comes to what they care about is that you're a good person doing good things and you represent professionally. And that's what they want to see. Vicious Fishing has been the same way. Greg over there, each year they re-up with me, when we get going with this stuff. And I believe wholeheartedly it's the fact that because he knows what we're doing out here, we're representing Vicious in a proud light, and doing things, the right way out there. That's why I surround myself with the very few sponsors that we have. It's not because we have a massive, following out there. And I think more companies are going to realize this. Um, there's more than one way to skin a cat out there, and
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, people use them as a punchline, but they're also people that blaze the whole, not everybody wants a Guggen Baits, right?
Right.
But good Lord, did they open the door for a lot? But then people are like, little buyer's remorse. It's like, I don't know, dude. Are you sure you want that kind of press? That's what you're considered now. So
Yeah. And the sad part about it too is up and coming anglers, these young kids that are 10 or 11 years old, that their uncle or their grandfather or their dad takes them out fishing, and then they get hooked, and then they're 14, 15 and they join the junior bass club. They're getting inundated by seeing these pros with all these jerseys and marketing and all these products. And I get all this stuff for free because I'm the greatest. It almost poisons their brain to think that they have to have sponsors to be legitimate.
yeah,
Right. I mean, in my
they
opinion,
they forget about the fact that they got to go fish.
right. Here's the way I feel about it. And this could be something for a future podcast, but there's a system to working your way up. You've got to be a decent angler before you can move your way up. Because if you can't beat the guys at the local level, then when you go to the next level, whether it's the BFLs, the invitationals, or the opens, you just don't win one tournament at your local event and then all of a sudden say, oh, I'm going to buy $100,000 boat and I'm going to fish the opens.
Yeah.
If you do, you're going to be very disappointed, or you're going to get pretty lucky, or you are so damn good that you just knew it and you moved on. But that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen that way.
The bottom pays the top, baby.
Right.
Of course, the industry's not going to say anything about that because that's what feeds the system, man. They want those donors coming through. And I guess at the end of the day, that's the point of this unpinned piece here is, dude, you got nobody to blame but yourself. Okay. Do the goddamn homework anytime. And I hate to do this because I don't want to crush dreams, but when I have somebody, we've got a young man that fishes with us from time to time in the CKB that has approached me several times about the fact of he's wanting to go pro and this is how he's going to go, and I'm like, okay, first off, homie, there's no pro in kayak side yet. Okay. You got to know that it's all pay to play right now. And number two, that's the worst possible career decision you could make. Why don't you go start a business of some kind that can pay for your hobby until your hobby can pay for your business? But that's the best advice I can give. I set this thing up in a business sense and I knew it was never going to go there until we changed our whole focus that now we're going to put service on everybody else. And then if that also, can help lead a pathway, for me to be able to keep fishing out there. Cool. When I found out that what we do is helpful in healing, I was like, hell yeah, there we go. Now we're in. But it certainly does take away, from being able like this from here on out. I'm not going to be able to fish like I used to, but that's all right. Am I having an aneurysm or you got a disco going on there, buddy?
I don't know. It's flickering. I hope I don't go into a conniption fit with these flickering lights. I don't know what's going on.
Well, listen, man, we're done with the unpinned here. We went, of course, way longer than I thought we would for this little edition, but that's going to be, folks, that's going to be kind of where we go. We're going to get into some deeper topics that might ruffle, obviously more feathers. If you're offended by any of this stuff, don't be. This is just opinion, right? That's all it is. We're talking on this stuff. If you agree, cool. Throw it in the comments. If you don't agree, cool. Throw it in the comments.
Yeah, I was just going to say, throw some stuff in the comments. We'll get some feedback. Let's see what you guys as viewers would like to see us talk about possibly in the future after these episodes. If everything goes well for us and it goes good, let's hear what you guys want to talk about.
we'll do a couple episodes recorded, and then depending on how they air and what sort of response we get from some of those, I'm thinking a couple of the other episodes we could do live. That way we can get the guests to jump in and chime in with their opinions, ask questions, or tell us shut up, whatever the case may be with that. Before we get going here, though, I want to unveil one cool little one of our graphics here, a new background that we have coming up for season 4. Since this is the final, we're going to give you a taste of the new background as we have it here. Wha-bam! This will
Nice.
be the new background for all of our podcasts going forward. A lot of effort's gone into this thing to get the alignment just right with everything, and make sure that we had everything with this. This will be all of our stuff here for season 4 going forward. We'll have this. We tried. I've seen others that get a little busy, have things moving on them, and that makes me nuts. This here is just us. It's the family Romans Warrior down below. They're the foundation for everything we do. TPO Podcast at the top. Subscribes, man. That's what we need more than anything. Big subscriptions from YouTube. That is where our focus is going to be for the next season, is really YouTube. We're going to really push forward with that. You're not going to see TPO doing any call to action across social media, Facebook or Instagram. It's just not worth it. I'm going to be honest with you. We just don't see enough response. That's the 3-second attention span world over there, dude. And I just don't have time for it. With YouTube, at least, people can come back to it later. You know what I mean? And they can watch it at their leisure, and we can get a full, at least a full thought out, through YouTube and the videos.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. Cool. Christine Fisher just posted something on her Facebook page, and she doesn't really do much about media or where she's at. But she just threw something up. It's a pretty good read on the money she's making on her social media pages through Instagram and TikTok, and how it's blown up. And wish if she spent more time, could she grow that? Once again, but she's got a following, and she a lot of people take shots at her, right? And so sure. It's good press because sometimes it's bad press. And that's tough for her, because big time props for her being a female in a dominantly male industry. And she takes so much slack for it, but she handles it so well. But she did say YouTube is one of her better ways, because like you said, you can watch stuff. It's there. It's always there. You don't really have to search for it like you do on YouTube.
It's the second
Facebook and stuff.
It's the second largest search engine on the planet, dude. Google's the first and YouTube is second. And guess what? Google owns them too. So they own the 2 largest search engines that are most used out there, on the planet. And yeah, you can get complete ideas out through this. No, in the vein of the Unpinned series, Christine Fisher is in a male-dominated sport, and she is a good-looking young lady. And so, of course, there was that launched it, and all of the old salty morons, running around out there that still caught in the 1960s were blown away, and they realized, hey, by the way, dude, she's a freaking hook, and she's a stick. She'll catch fish in a mud puddle and outfish you in a swimming pool almost every day of the week. But, so she had that double whammy, because she had those of us out there that appreciated the fact that she's an angler that has busted her butt to get where she's at.
Yeah.
Don't know her personally, so I can't speak to that stuff there. But then there's the other side where they're, like I said, you got the guys that are like, they see her come on screen and they're like, oh, pretty girl, like, dude, our industry's floated with those. I mean, how many?
Yeah, and waiting to see some skin, and she's classy enough lady that she doesn't play that angle.
Yeah,
she does it like a professional, and
that's why I've stayed following her.
Right,
because there's some others out there that have, if I see one more bikini holding a sailfish, yeah, like you caught that, all right?
Right.
Shut up.
Right.
It's the 6 guys behind you, one of them with one eye, and guys with like 3 fingers left. Those are the guys catching the stuff.
And the one eye he has is on her in her bikini.
Exactly. Not on the damn boat where it should be. Listen, brother, I can't thank you enough for stopping by. This is going to be fun when we get to these. Anytime you want to come by and co-host an episode, you are more than welcome. Always, like I said, we got the Strawbridge seat always there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll get into more of this stuff as we get rolling down. Folks at home, smash that subscribe button as you see on the screen right there. That's actually, you can't smash that one. Go to YouTube. Find us on YouTube at True Patriot Outfitters. Hit that subscribe, hit that deal there, and be looking for us as we're coming down the pike. As always, folks, we got one last time with this because we got a new intro you'll be seeing on the next episode as well. But one more time, we're going to send this out with the old intro. Tight lines, everybody, and be safe.